changing, we're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more complaining people. Their lives are changing, we're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more, no more.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's JumpStart. I'm Will Bowen, #1 international best-selling author and the founder of the Complaint-Free Movement, with over 14 million people having taken the Complaint-Free Challenge around the world. Glad to have you here. Teddy is glad to be here, although he doesn't like to look at the lights, which I completely understand. I think he's doing this, which means, I get it, you're right. Okay, look, there's Teddy. He is certainly, I take him out and we watch the sunsets at night, and he is certainly the hit of the sunsets when we go out in the evening. There goes my buddy. I'm going to read to you a little bit of inspiration from my book, To You Love God, as everybody checks in and tells me what you are grateful for. Today, I am grateful for some opportunities to go diving again soon, scuba diving. And also, I'm going to sign up every third Friday. They do an ocean cleanup here. And that just seems great to me, because it is sort of sad when you're out there on the bay. And I'll tell you what, Key Biscayne, down there in Miami, when I was living there part-time, it was just so disheartening to see all the plastic floating on the surface, and there was a lot of it. And so we're going to clean up the ocean, do our part, do what we can. So everybody check in, tell us what you are grateful for, and I will read you this little bit of inspiration. Imagine if everyone took a marking pen and wrote the word blessing in large, bold letters on everything that brings them health, happiness, safety, or joy. What if you were assigned this task? You would write blessing on the faces of your children and friends, on every corner of your home, on your car, on the public servants who provide for you, on the table where you eat your meals. How different would your day be if you spent it notating every blessing? Imagine how the world would look to you once everyone took up this challenge. If everyone on earth wrote blessing on everything for which they are grateful, practically everything would bear the inscription blessing. You'd see the truth that you are surrounded by blessings. And as you went to bed that night, you would look in the mirror and see blessing written on your own forehead, for you are indeed a great blessing to many, many people. This day, grab a pen, even an imaginary one, and play the blessing game. Most people get up and count their curses. Most people complain about their lives. People who are happy and healthy give thanks for what they have rather than spending their time lamenting what they don't have. And we all need to be reminded of that, I find. I was listening to a podcast. I love This American Life with Ira Glass. It is typically a very inspiring and upbeat podcast by just telling people's stories, and you get glimpses into other people. And one of the producers was talking about a movie. I didn't catch the name of the movie, but it came out in the 1960s, and it starred some of the biggest actors and actors of the time, including Mary Tyler Moore, Dom DeLuise, and Peter Graves from Mission Impossible. And the movie is about a virus that starts out with just one person, and it is spread through breathing air droplets, just like the one we have now, to other people. And they do a wonderful job in this podcast of setting the video up or the movie up. The interesting thing is then they get into how they have come up with a vaccine, just like we have now. And just like we have now, a lot of people did not want to take it. Now, the reason that people didn't want to take it is called the happiness virus. It is a virus that all of a sudden people have no fears, no worries, no angers. They are not frustrated. They are not upset. they just become very, very chill and very, very blissed out and very friendly and very helpful to one another. And you may ask yourself, why in the world would the government then try and come up with a vaccine for that? You think that having people get along and having people like each other and having people just be happy as they are would make would make the government go, this is awesome. Here's why. And it surprised me when I heard it. I'm going to take a drag on my coffee here. A drag on my coffee. You can certainly tell I grew up in a cigarette smoking family. I don't smoke now. Anyway, the reason the government wanted this virus eradicated is that if everyone is getting along, the legal system closes down. Nobody's fighting. If everybody gets along and if everybody is happy, the economy stops. Because if I'm happy with the car that I have, I'm not going to go and buy a new car. It was just such an amazing irony, considering the fact that a lot of what drove our health and safety decisions during COVID-19 were actually based in the economy. How quickly can we get people back to work? Sometimes factoring in how many people may get sick and sometimes not factoring in how many people may get sick. But just how quickly can we get this economy going? And I'm not naive. I understand we need a growing, healthy economy. Now that things are picking back up and we're doing a lot of speaking, a lot of other things, it's better than the opposite. Don't get me wrong. It's interesting, though, that when you consider that the economy, the takeaway from this movie, for me, was that our economy, dun, 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 big surprise, is fear-based. It's fear-based. It's lack-based. I was talking about my car, and I was all set to buy a new car 2 years ago, and then the pandemic, so I chose not to. And now I'm ready to buy a car, and the demand is so difficult. I'm looking at, June of next year, October, if I even want to get on the list. And if I were completely just satisfied with my car, then I probably would not do that. I wouldn't even consider looking at a car. I guess in my example, if somebody goes and speaks to an organization one year and everybody's cool and happy and likes them, they may just like them to come back over and over and over again. This was a huge epiphany for me, hearing this podcast about a movie. The movie, from what I understand, is almost impossible to get unless you get it on a DVD. And I don't have anything that can play a DVD. But it's really interesting because Dom DeLuise plays the president, and he plays his normal, outlandish self, but not quite so untethered. And in this case, he's quite serious in talking about how the economy is going to collapse if all these people are so happy all the time. It was wonderful to see how everything sort of shifted. It started out and you figured out, wow, there's a virus that's getting around. And in this case, it was created by a toucan, not presumably a bat, the way we think that COVID-19 began, not created, but originated. And in this case, it was a toucan that stowed away on a boat coming over to the United States from somewhere. Anyway, wherever the toucan was, everybody got super duper duper happy. And going from this idea of, wouldn't it be awesome if we had a virus that made everybody happy, something that just came along without people having to do the work of being happy, which, by the way, happiness is work. It certainly is. You have to let certain things go. You have to focus more on what is good and what is working rather than what is bad and what is challenging. And that can be difficult because our minds have a negativity bias. So instead of just doing all of this work to be a happy person, allowing this virus to take us over, and then the takeaway being, and if we did that, our economy would collapse. A lot of things are based in fear and uncertainty. We want to make sure that we are not based in fear and ideally even uncertainty. Sure, the future is uncertain. I absolutely get that. By the way, the word anxiety is defined as fear over an uncertain future. Let me say that again, fear over an uncertain future. By that measure, I think everybody should have anxiety, and I think everybody does in some ways. We don't know what's coming. And so we think that at some level, if we worry enough about it, we can prepare ourselves. And all that does is it ruins this wonderful present moment, which is the only place that we can find happiness. I don't know about you, but I have been in, opulent surroundings, being spoiled and been very unhappy. And I've also been staying in some, not so great experiences and been happy. And it is very, very much a choice. So realize that commercials, which we see on average 10,000 commercials a day, think about that. We think about 45,000 thoughts a day, human beings, and we see about as many or hear about as 1/4 as many advertisements on a daily basis. And when I used to write ad copy for radio stations, which is what I did for many, many years, my great copy teacher said, all commercials carry fear and greed in them. And if you can tap into both of those, you've got a winning commercial. So 10,000 times a day, about 1/4 as many as thoughts as we even have. And you know how many thoughts go through your head. We see our advertisements and they're based in fear. They're based to drive the economy. So know that and realize it's so easy to feel like there's something wrong with you because you've got all these advertisements and everything working to tell you there's something wrong with you, because that's what drives sales. That's what drives the economy. I can tell you as a, what do they call me? An influencer, or there's another word for it. I can't think of it. Anyway, what I do for a living. And now it's going to bother me. Anyway, one of the things that they tell you to do is to identify people's pain and then grind on it. And that's how you sell programs. That's how you do this. That's how you do that. Luckily for us, people already know how struggling or how difficult complaining is. And so what they do is they find us out. So we don't necessarily have to do that. We don't, in fact. So become aware of how you feel amidst all these commercials and things that you see, and realize that it's that fear. And in a lot of cases, it's the fear of missing out. It's the fear of missing out. One of the things I don't care for is when I'm sitting out there watching the sunset here in Key Largo, which is one of the daily rituals I do. And it was one of the reasons I moved down here, was just to watch the sunsets. And as I'm doing it, overhead, you hear this. You know what I'm making a sound of, right? It sounds pretty much exactly what they sound like. Drones. People have drones flying, right over the marina filming the sunset, which is fine. I don't know where these people are and why they can't just walk down and watch it. But anyway, then I started listening to a podcast about a guy who had a drone, and all of a sudden I wanted a drone. I was fearful that I was missing out. I was afraid I was going to miss out. That's what advertising does. And so we want to be aware of that, and to know that our economy is driven in many ways by fear, and that I will not be any happier in my new car when I get it than I am in my old car. In fact, in some ways, I just love my old car. The only reason that I want a new car is I moved to Florida and all my dash just all went and split all over it from the heat and the sunlight. So be aware today that commercials, ads that you're watching are there to make you feel uncomfortable. They're there to make you feel like you're missing out. And as long as you're being motivated by that, you'll always feel like you're missing out. You'll never feel like you're complete. You'll never feel like you're enough. But begin to realize you are. Consider today I am infecting you with the happiness virus. I'm giving it to you. There you go. You got it now. So be happy today. Enjoy today.
No more complaining people. Their lives are changing. We're flying high, creating a complaint-free world. No more complaining people. Their lives are changing.